Hello everyone, my name is Michelle, and today we're going to learn how to identify functions and one-to-one functions. So first, what are the characteristics of a function? So in a function, x does not repeat. So what that means is if we do a vertical line test, and if the line only comes in contact with the function, comes in contact with the graph once, it's a function, and if it comes in contact more than once, it's not a function. Now I'll show you an example of that later. A one-to-one function is a type of function where x and y don't repeat. And to test for a one-for-one function, you would use the vertical line test and the horizontal line test. Alright, so let's go on to some examples. So our first example here, so I have a table, a map, a graph, and a set of points. So what we're looking for is if x repeats, it would be a function. And if x doesn't repeat, it would be a function. And if x and y don't repeat, it's a one-to-one function. So let's see. Let's look at each of them. Now these are all using the same points, but in different ways of representation. So you can really just group those three together and put the graph off to the side. So let's use the table. So we see when x is 1, y equals 1. When x is 2, y equals 1. When x is 3, y is 1. When x is 4, y is 2. So remember, when we're looking for a function, we want to make sure that x doesn't repeat, and we can see that x does not repeat. So this would be a function. Now, if you want to see if it's a one-to-one function, we have to make sure that y doesn't repeat either. But we can see here that y does repeat the 1, y equals 1. So we can see the same thing on the map. And we can see there are multiple lines going to the same y value, but there aren't multiple lines coming out of the same x value like this. And same thing as the table for the points. You can see that these are the x values in an xy coordinate. And we see they do not repeat in the set. Now moving on to the graph, we can use the vertical and horizontal line tests. So first we do the vertical line test, make sure it only intersects with the graph once. Oh, and by the way, these are points, so it doesn't make sense for the graph to be connected, but it's just easier to see that way. Alright, so we're going to do vertical line test. Just draw vertical lines. And we can see that for every time we draw a vertical line, it will only intersect once. We can do the same thing to find if it is a one-to-one function using horizontal lines. And when we do that, we see that it intersects more than once right there, which is y equals 1 over here, which is where we have repeating y values. Alright, next example. So here we have, looking at the table, we have when x equals 1, y equals 0. When x equals 3, y equals negative 1. When x equals 2, y equals 1. And when x equals 1, y equals negative 2. And we can see that x does repeat. So this is not a function. And we in the map, we can see the same thing. The x equals 1, you can see it's connecting to two y values. And with the set of points, we can see that the x value repeats. For the graph, when we do a vertical line test, we see that it intersects right there at x equals 1. Alright, our final example. So we're going to look at the table again. So when x equals 3, y equals 3. When x equals 2, y equals 2. When x equals 1, y equals 1. And when x equals 0, y equals 0. We can see that the x do not repeat, so it is a function. But this time we also see that the y's don't repeat either. So this is a one-to-one function. That's right. Alright, on the map we can see that every x value corresponds to a different y value, and every y value corresponds to a different x value. And in the points we can see that the x and y values do not repeat. Moving on to the graph, when we use the vertical line test, it only intersects once, and when we use the horizontal line test, it also only intersects once. Alright, so today we went over how to identify functions and one-to-one functions by using the vertical and horizontal line tests and determining if x or y repeat. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.